there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we're going to swatch all of the Mission Tourmaline watercolors. I was sent this very generous sample from a viewer, Lora Burgess. Thank you so much. And we are going to see how these look. Now this is Sunrise Yellow. I don't see pigment information. I don't think I misplaced it. Oh, wait. Actually, you know what? Strike that, reverse it. I think I might have it right here. No, I do not have pigment information. So, just double check. No, I do not. Okay, and if I lost it, I do apologize, but I don't think I have it. But I will link to these in the video description if you want to learn more. There'll probably be pigment information in the link. So the first one is Sunrise Yellow. This next one is Gold Brown Yellow. It looks like it's got some nickel azo yellow in it. Probably has some PY43 as well. I would say that's probably PY150 and PY43. That one, I'm not sure. That one looks like it might have nickel azo yellow and maybe nickel titanate yellow. But again, just speculation. This color here is Rudbeckia Yellow. And I'm doing nice juicy swatches because I want to get as much granulation possible, like potential as possible. Now the colors on the Mission Gold, I mean, this shouldn't be much of a surprise, I suppose, because Mission Gold does very vibrant colors, but they are much more like saturated and vibrant compared to like the Schmincke super granulating colors. And I will compare these at the end of the video, compare the swatches of my Schmincke super granulating and the Holbein granulating one, because my friend Shanna, who's an ambassador, actually made little sample palettes for me and a couple of friends. We're all just kind of YouTubers that are friends, and she made us some sample palettes so we could check them out. We had Tangerine Orange and then Aurora Red. Now on the swatches the swatch that she made, I'm seeing a lot more color splitting here than I have been able to repeat with the paintings that I have done. So it might be a situation where these colors granulate a lot better out of the tube, or maybe they settled in the pan or something. So that's why it's kind of not going to be a super comprehensive review, just because going from pan to samples, and it may be different than going straight from the tube. Generally, when using the super granulating colors, you use a lot of the color, and they'll be a little bit more punchy out of the tube. This is very bright though. This is Rose Magenta. Looks like a Quin Rose, and I don't know what they have in there. It might have like, well, I know the pigment that they use to make opera can granulate, so maybe. I'm seeing some granulation in that yellow. There's just not a lot of value contrast between the white paper and the yellow to make it show up. The next color is Fantasy Violet. Oh, that's a really vibrant color. The thing I am noticing though is that I'm not seeing the colors splitting apart as much as in the swatch card that Lora sent me. This is Aurora Violet, and that looks like it's got a reddish and purplish split, but I'm not seeing that in my swatching of it. I'm seeing more just purple. So I'm kind of wondering if some of the colors, some of the heavier pigments, the granulating pigments, might have settled out. I'm waiting to do Cloud White until I want to make absolutely sure my black marker is dry there before I do the white. Then we have Fog Violet. That's very gray, but you know what? I used this on a painting of a cathedral in the snow, which I don't have on me anymore because I gave it to my friend that took the photo. It's got beautiful granulation. It seemed like it was more purple before. So I'm wondering if we're going to have a situation like with some of the supervision colors where they changed, but usually they only change in the tube, not in the pan. This color is Aurora Pink, but I'm not really seeing much of the pink here. I'm seeing more of the lavender. Lavender is a granulating color, usually made with ultramarine blue and white. Then the next color is Azure Blue. Adding lots of water because I really want to make these granulate as much as possible. This paper is the Fabriano Studio, and it's what I usually use for my swatches, or I'll use something very similar to it. This paper is 25% cotton, 75% cellulose. This next color is marine blue. I use it for consistency. This is very inky. It's a very pretty color. We'll have to let these dry to really see the full granulation effect. Dry naturally, I should say. Indigo blue is the next color. These are quarter pans of paint, so I want to make sure I'm working my second full painting with these, and I'm like, oh, I better do this video before I use up my paint to make sure I have enough. Oh, I'm starting to see the granulation appear there. Now I'm starting to see the pink split out. I couldn't see it earlier, but now I'm seeing it. Let's see. So that was indigo blue. The next color is Aurora blue, and that was a fourth one in here. Wait a minute, did I do the right one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, I did. Okay. This is Aurora blue. Usually when you hear like an Aurora color, it's a fluorescent, but neither of these Auroras have been fluorescent. Ooh, that's got a beautiful granulation though. I can see it starting to split already. Maybe I'll add a little bit more paint and water just to help it granulate fuller. Next color is shadow blue. Lots of water. Let me show you plenty of. Whoops! I'm kind of getting into its neighbor there. They're kind of fighting each other, though. They're pushing each other away. This next color is Wave Turquoise. Looks like a cobalt turquoise. Kind of like I have a core cobalt turquoise that's very similar to this color. Or maybe it's the teal that's this color and the turquoise is more vibrant. It's weird because I see cobalt teal and cobalt turquoise both being a really bright greenish blue. And it just depends on the manufacturer, but core has a teal and a turquoise, and they're both different. Now this gray, oxide turquoise, should have some turquoise bits. When I'm stirring it up in the pan though, I'm seeing kind of like a brown or a pink on there, so we'll see how that splits out. It looks like it's going to be pretty. Oh, we can also compare to the Rosa granulating colors. They came out with a set of, I don't have all of them, they came out with a set of 10, and I think they've come out with more scents than, I don't have the White Night granulating colors. It's funny, I made, like, when the granulating paints were starting to become all the rage, I did a video on how to find your granulating pigments in your stash and make your own palette. And I did that. I'm like, this is great. This worked really well. This color right here, Jade Green, is beautiful. It's got some great texture. I didn't even have to add tons of paint and water. Let's add a little more water to it just to see if we can get even more. And I'm like, well, this is great. I'm satisfied. But then a bunch of my friends really got into doing the granulating palettes and offered me sample sets. Rosie offered me oh, this is pretty. Offered me a sample set of the Schminke and so on and so forth. Ooh, that's pretty. That's almost, that's called forest green. On the swatch that Lora made, it's got some like navy blue granulating out. I'm not seeing that, but it might just need time to settle. Could be our waters being different too. This is grass green here I'm getting into next. You know, if you have harder or softer water, I have well water, so it may make it granulate more or less. You know, it just depends on the minerals in your water. Then we've got Aurora green. This is really pretty. It looks very seafoamy. I think that would be really pretty in like rusty patina effects. Let me get a little bit more and a little more water, really see what she can do. Oh, I'm starting to see the green separate out on, the yellow separate out on that. Although on the swatch, I'm seeing more blue separating out of green, so we'll just have to see how it dries. The more vibrant colors I find granulate less. And I think it's because the vibrancy that those colors have are dyes that are added in, and depending on how much dye versus how much mineral-based pigment you have, it just kind of, you know, the more vibrant the color, the more you might get a color split, but the less you'll get maybe overall granulation. Look at that one though. Now, that forest green is a beautiful, like granulating, almost sap green. Okay, this next one is ocean green. Oh, that's really pretty. I don't think the ocean should... Did I get the right color? Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was ocean green. Is that? Yeah, that was ocean green. This is pine green. Yeah, that looks more like what the ocean should look like. This looks like we've got some algae problems. Mountain green is the next color. And this is kind of a brownish, soupy green. It's probably got some chrome oxide in it. Oh, Rosa has a beautiful chrome oxide. I'm not a fan of chrome oxide green, except Rosa Gallery has a chrome oxide green that has such a beautiful texture that it makes it worth like putting up with the color. I intend to get a tube of that someday, but it's hit or miss where you can find places that sell the tubes. Rosa seems to go by sets a lot. It seems like Etsy. There was a seller on Etsy that had them at one point. I give a little dot card sample. I'm like, ooh, I like that chrome oxide green. But then I'm like, this is ridiculous. I don't even like this color. Why do I want to buy that color? Because of the granulation on that particular brand. But you know, I think it's common. It used to be more common than it is now because sets have gotten so prominent. But it used to be more common. You pick the color you want from the brand that you liked, like that particular color in, and just have this complete mishmash palette. And I think with like YouTube kind of taking over, social media taking over, the trend to get sets has been more popularized because like if I'm teaching a class, if I can find everything I need in a set, it's so much easier for students and usually a lot cheaper for students to get their supplies. And so I think that has really changed things a lot in the art supply landscape since social media has been popular. Plus, you know, it's kind of satisfying to buy a set of colors. It's usually less per tube. Not always. It's not always less per item in sets, but oftentimes it is, especially if like your shopping options are, for whatever reason, you only shop on Amazon. Individual tube prices are outrageous on Amazon, but sets are very affordable and due to seller fees and whatnot. Let's see. This one is, oh, burgundy red here. That's Island Orange, which on the swatch there shows some like blue or gray separation. The one before that is Ochre Yellow, which shows a little bit of brown separation. I'm seeing it a little bit there. And the one before that is Milky Way Violet, but it looks kind of green here, and there it looks more, has a little bit of green undertone. It looks more taupe there. So these Magello colors are reminding me a lot of the Supervision colors. I'll compare it with the Supervision palette that I have too, the Supervision Granulating palette. They are reminding me quite a bit of the Supervision colors, more than the Schmincke colors. But the Supervision colors are much more affordable if you are trying to get some bang for your buck. But the best bang for your buck is actually just to go through your stash. And if they have the pigment information online, then you'll be able to see what pigments they used and then look at your tubes. And granted, not all like of the pigments are going to look the same, you know, because it could depend on what source the pigment was from and how it was treated, but you can definitely get something very approximate. That was Oxide Red Brown, looks like an Indian red. Oh, before that one was Bronze Brown. This is Mahogany Brown. One thing I've noticed about Mission Gold, because I do like their paints, but their earth tones are always a little bit strange. They always would do, they tend to do a lot of mixed pigments with their browns. I have the pure pigments out of 24. I bought both versions of it because it was such a great deal. But in their regular offerings, their browns are a little strange. They definitely have, they're mixed pigments and they perform a little differently. That's Coffee Brown. I'm not seeing a heck of a lot of granulation here or in the swatch there. This next color, Copper Green, has a little bit of a red split, it looks like, in my swatch. We'll see if that shows up on my big swatch here. Generally, bigger, wetter swatches are going to show more of the splitting effects. But we'll really see when it's dry, because I'm starting to see color splits that I didn't see, and undertones I didn't see when I first swatched them out. So it can be a little bit confusing, because when you're painting with these, if you think you've got one color, after it dries, you may have kind of a different color or feel to it. So it's probably best just to take one or two granulating colors and mix it with your standard colors so that you have a little bit better idea of what's going to happen. But I always, if I have a palette that's all set up like this, I tend to be lazy and just pull from the palette. Oh shoot, I got into the other color, but oh well, I think we'll be able to see. I'll just blot that there so we can stop the flow a little bit. The black lines is just to see how opaque a color is. Sometimes people will ask me, why do you have black lines on your swatches? It's just to show if they're opaque or transparent. And actually, most of these are looking pretty transparent, which isn't a surprise given how vibrant they are. But generally, your sedimentary colors, your granulators, are going to be more, because they're bigger particles that sit on top of the paper, are going to be a little bit more opaque. But again, when it's dry, we'll be able to tell for sure. So that granite cold gray granulates beautifully. I like that quite a bit. And then granite stone black, which is probably a PBK 11. And I am making some pretty serious dents in the paint here. So just to kind of give you a heads up on that. All right, we're going to let that dry. And then when it's dry and we come back, my painting will be done that I'm working on. So I'll be able to show you that, and I'll be able to show you comparisons with the other granulating paints that I have. So hopefully it can help you decide whether these are right for you, or you want to go with a different brand, or you want to just dig through your stash and see what you have. Because I'll compare it to my my own stash as well, just so you can kind of get a good feel for what might be best for you. I forgot to swatch the white. Sorry about that. Let's get in there and do that. I did put some water on this so it'd have plenty of chances to activate. All right, so we got a nice juicy swatch there, and we'll see what happens. So hopefully we'll be able to see some colors kind of the white clumping. I don't see any undertones in that one, so we'll see. Who knows? All right, I wanted to finish up on the Mission Tourmaline watercolors. The swatch is dry, so let's take a look at them here. Now, going through, honestly, I'm not seeing quite as much granulation as the swatch that Lora sent me had. And it could just be, like, I find that my water, our well water here, I have a hard time seeing the granulation as much as other people do when they paint with it. And I think, because sometimes I'll add salt to my water and I will get way more granulation. And I just think maybe it's a hard water thing. If you have softer water, that you get more granulation. I have put like water softening tablets in my water before to paint with, but I just don't think to do it all the time. And I just use regular well water here. And I did not get really strong granulation. Those two purples, the Fantasy Violet and Aurora Violet, had good granulation. That Fog Violet did. Aurora Pink, pretty good. Azure Blue had good granulation. These all through here worked pretty good. Love that green, that forest green. The jade green is pretty too, but that forest green has such luminosity that's really nice. Aurora green. Yeah, some of these, it's really nice granulations. They tend to be the more earthier colors. And you can start to see the color separation more as they dried. Like I can see the pink and green in that one where I couldn't at first, I don't think, when we were swatching it out. And then you've got the really nice gritty grays down here, which are really pretty. So that's what these look like. I wanted to show you this painting before I was completely finished with it because I'm going to be adding some gouache to it. So this is on Hanamula, so what is it, 300 pound rough watercolor paper. So rough paper generally will show off granulation a lot more, especially if it's a nice heavily sized paper, which this is. And I did glaze over this icy area here, so that does take some of the granulation off. And I do have a little bit of crayon on top. But, you know, I was expecting a little more granulation in the sky there, but I did get a fairly good amount of granulation in the grays and the earthier tones, but I just wanted to show you that before I added any more to it because I'm going to be adding some gouache, and I wanted to make sure that you could see some of the granulation that was in there. But yeah, it performed the way I would expect. I almost expected a little bit more granulation where it was sold at, well, the Tourmaline colors kind of have that granulation effect. I also want to talk about pricing a little bit. I looked these up on, I just Googled them because I didn't know what stores would have them in the United States. At Amazon, they were like $234, I think, for the set of 34 colors. If you go to eBay though, they're like $145. So definitely shop around if you're considering buying a full set. I do not know who's selling open stock tubes of this. You might have to hunt for those, because I think for me, like that color would definitely be worth purchasing for me because I have a fairly large assortment of watercolors already. So I want to compare these with some other granulating sets that are on the market right now, just so you can kind of, you know, see how they compare. The first thing I want to show you is my DIY granulating version, because like I said, I did this. I wasn't intending on getting any of the granulating paints, but I made myself a swatch of the colors I had in my stash, and these are all single pigment colors, I believe. Yes, because I just chose, well, that one actually is a Schmincke color that has a couple pigments in it, but for the most part, I was doing single pigment colors, and that way I can mix this with my standard paint, like those two stuck together when I folded it. I would be able to mix this with my regular watercolors and, you know, get that granulating effect, but I could also mix it with colors that are more staining, get that color splitting effect, and I really like this. I think this works well. I have it in a little tray that will fit into either of my large studio palettes, and honestly, this is perfect. For me, this is perfect. I didn't realize that I do have another yellow that granulates, and I did add it onto the palette, but I don't have it in this swatch. This is on Canson Montval rough paper, and I feel like the granulation shows up really well on that paper. That's a cellulose paper that I really enjoy, but that's my DIY version. I have a whole blog post on this and a whole video on this. If you want information about what colors I chose for this, please go check that out, because I really, in my heart of hearts, I think that this is the way to go. Just get the colors that granulate and then mix them with the colors you already have to get the color splitting effect, because I feel like you have more control over whether you're using light fast pigments or fluorescent pigments, and you can get exactly what you want and more versatility. And once the super granulating fad is over and gone, you've still got these base colors. You know, you haven't gone and invested in lines and lines of paint that may or may not, you know, be that useful down the road. Because I feel like things go in fads. Something that's completely hip and trendy and looks great now becomes very gauche in, you know, like a year or two from now. So anyway, just want to put that out there. So that was my DIY version, full blog post on that. I'll try to remember to link it down below. Next I'm going to show you what I think, if I had to pick one set of granulating paints that I think they do the best, it would be Schmincke's granulating colors. They're super granulating colors. And I have a swatch of a bunch of them right here. I feel they're all pretty earthy and moody, but you could always mix into other colors. But the thing that I still think that my DIY palette excels at is that you have more versatility. These colors are multiple pigment colors, just like most of these sets that you're seeing marketed as super granulating. They contain multiple pigments, so you're a little bit more limited. I mean, some of these colors might be single pigment. I know the Volcano Yellow and Volcano Red are. One is PR108, the Volcano Red is a cadmium red, the Volcano Yellow is PY159. But otherwise, you've got a lot of mixes that are only going to be so versatile versus having single pigment colors you can mix with whatever undertones you want to get a variety of different colors. Like, well, we can't see this because the pigment information wasn't there, and I did look on a couple different websites and it's probably out there. I probably just didn't dig deep enough. You know, when you know what's in a paint, you can kind of do the mix yourself. But anyway, that's kind of the one to beat. That's my favorite of the granulating lines that are available. Oh, those are just a bunch of my little swatches of different brands that I found that granulated really well, and I just kept them there. And you can find some bargains. Like these are Turner watercolors. Like I think I paid $5 to $8 a tube, a 15 ml tube, and I got some gorgeous colors there. Another set that I thought was pretty good, and you can get this open stock, would be Rosa Gallery has some nice granulating colors, but even then I saw that some worked really well and some didn't. Like the Jade Green, Golden Brown, this smoky, I think it was called like Smoky Gray, but the little tab, the sticker came off, and then this Carbon Black, those all granulated really well. These other colors that were sold as granulators, to me, did not granulate very well. So, it could be my water, it could be my paper, but these granulated fine on that paper, and this is the same paper I was using for all my other swatches. So yeah, I don't know. I think the hard water does play a part. A handmade company that does a really nice granulating watercolor would be Masha's Watercolor. And they've got a yellow that's got a little bit of a granulating. It's PY 150 and PR 102. It's got a little bit of a siltiness to it. It's not, they don't super granulate for me, but they definitely, depending on the paper, on Arches they granulate a little bit more. They have a beautiful arrangement of colors you can buy in sets or open stock in pans. They have beautiful palettes. It's definitely a one to check out. These are the original set of 10 Supervision watercolors, and these were shared to me from Rosie, the same person that sent me the Schmincke paints. But they're kind of funny. I noticed sometimes with the Supervision granulating watercolors, their colors can go off. Like the dye-based colors that they have can fade or separate, and you kind of don't know what you're going to get sometimes when you use them. I think if you pan them, they do last better than in the tube, but they've had some issues. I do have some other Supervision colors here, and it seems like they've switched to using more reliable pigments, and they've got some really beautiful granulators, and they're sold in these packs of 3, and I think a pack of 3 is around $25 on Amazon, and they're 15 ml tubes, so they are pretty big tubes. So they are much more affordable than the Schmincke Super Granulating, and probably more affordable than the Magello Mission Tourmaline colors. But I think you have to buy those in a big set. I don't know if you can get them open stock. But anyways, I think these are a great option for if you want the premixed colors and you want to buy them on a budget. They're very strong, they work quite well, and I'm pretty happy with them. Then the last but certainly not least one I want to compare is the new Holbein colors. I think the Tourmaline ones are probably most similar to the new Holbein ones now that I've swatched those out. The Holbein ones are sold in sets of 6. I believe they're also available open stock, and they're in color families called Landscape, Moon, Bird, and Flower. And I would say my biggest criticism of this line is that many of them have fluorescent pigments in them, so there's going to be some color changing if exposed to the light over time. It's just something to be aware of if that concerns you. If you're working in a sketchbook, or you're just or you're going to scan and sell reproductions of your work and it doesn't matter to you, then fine. But also, if you're scanning your work though, those fluorescent colors might not, or those pigments that are in there might not show up that well on a scan. So looking at the Tourmaline colors here, looking at the Holbein colors here, they kind of seem quite similar. Like I said, I don't know what the pigments are in the Mission Gold ones, but I would definitely kind of compare if you can find all that information. And at least with these you can get like packs of 6 colors and you can kind of add to your collection as your needs arise, rather than having to go and buy a huge set all at once. So that is my just overall swatch of, and I'm not really going to call it a review, because granulating watercolor is not something that I don't think I use them to their best ability. Maybe they're cool. I kind of feel like they're a bit of a fad. They are very neat. They're fun for special effects. And I think at the end of the day, buy what makes you happy. Buy what makes you happy. My preference is still my very first DIY granulating kit. And I could actually show it to you. And I think I like the versatility of it. Let's see, where did I stash it? I've got 2 studio palettes here. Though there's my mini swatch for it. It must be in them. And so what I did was I swatched it out and I left space so I could put whatever is the other colors near it. But yeah, I added PY 159 there because I had it in a tube. I didn't realize that was a granulating yellow, and this works great. And I also like that I have nice big wells that I can get into. But I can put it in with my regular paints and use them with the other regular paints, and I feel like it gives it more versatility. But you know, do what you want to do. Honestly. Sometimes I feel like I'm a little jaded. I'm a little jaded because I use so many supplies that it takes a lot to kind of impress me. I can't get those back over there right now. But I think in general it's better to have more versatile colors and less versatile colors, and having colors that are single pigment that you can mix with other colors and get the this special effects you want, it's better because there's only so many ways you're going to combine these pigments, and there's only so many ways these companies are going to combine the pigments, and there's a lot of chasing fads going on. I know it's, you know, it's hard for an art supply company to make a living, and if you can chase a fad and you sell more products, they're going to do it, right? If people buy it, they're going to sell it. That's business. But my loyalty is to my viewers, and well, you know what I prefer. I have not purchased any of the super granulating sets. All the super granulating sets I have been given to me, either samples made by friends or companies looking to promote their products. And other than the single tubes, like everything in here, most everything in here was purchased myself, and I was able to go and pick exactly, like, look at the beautiful little spirally fractures you have in there. I mean, it's really fun when you can find those colors yourself and do it. And I guess kind of that discovery is is a lot of the fun in art for me, rather than having it all done and not being able to control the components of the mix. So that's my take on it. That said, I mean, that's a gorgeous green. I think that would be really fun to have. I wonder, oh, you know what? I should compare that to the Undersea green from Daniel Smith. I wonder how similar that is. Let's see what I have. Do I have anything? Oh, and those are the Paul Rubens Shuyan granulating colors, which, I don't know, I thought they were kind of, I don't know, they weren't as impressive. These are all the supervisions together, and you know, they've got some really nice granulation. I'm not gonna lie. But let me grab my Daniel Smith Permatex that a friend shared. Let's see if I think of it on my shelf. Hang on one second. Paula shared these with me. It kind of reminds me of Green Apatite Genuine, but that's definitely more yellow. I don't have Cascade Green. That's Undersea Green. That's not really that close. That's Serpentine there. That's kind of close, but it's got more blue specks in it. So that might be like worth grabbing if you want that really glowy, highly granulating colors. Because a lot of times if the color really glows, it's not that granulating. So, I mean, that might be one to grab. I guess it takes a lot to impress me with watercolors, and while these were fun to play with and I enjoyed the artwork I made with them, I'm still leaning towards a DIY palette of like going through your stuff, getting to know your watercolors, finding the colors that granulate, making a palette with those, and then add a tube here and there as needed. But that is the Mission Gold Tourmaline set. And hey, you know what? Check other people's reviews too, because there's going to be people out there that are just so head over heels in love with granulating watercolors. They're going to have a whole different perspective, and they're going to sell you on what they love about them. And that's probably also a good tempered viewpoint to hear. So with that, I want to thank you for watching. I hope you found this enjoyable, not too boring. I don't know, maybe you're gone to sleep by now. Who knows? But thank you so much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up, and until next time, happy crafting. Bye!